Marcia Ranglin-Vassell traveled to Jamaica to teach a powerful lesson in generosity, donating over $200,000 to 2 primary schools and so much more. We highlight her heartfelt efforts today for Girl Power Tuesday. I deliberately didn't say teacher because this lady is wife, mother, grandmother, public school teacher, former state representative, poet, award-winning author, and philanthropist. Good morning, Superwoman.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start with the donation that I mentioned at the top to 2 primary schools. What inspired you to do that now, Marcia?
Well, what inspired me is because, number one, I think food is a basic human right. Mm-hmm. And as a public school teacher, as a teacher who actually wanted to teach when I was 6 years old, I know that you cannot learn, kids can't learn unless they're fed.
Absolutely.
And also because of my own lived experiences growing up in poverty, growing up in gun violence in Bull Bay, Jamaica, and mom and dad worked really hard. But 9 kids, they just couldn't make all the ends meet. And I remember going to school without food sometimes. And I remember how it felt. And so I wanted to pay it forward. And so it's what I do every day. It's what I do. Started a global organization that's feeding kids where I live in the United States, in Haiti, in Liberia. And it's so good to be home, especially independence. Yes. And just to give back and to pay it forward.
Yeah. You mentioned home, Bull Bay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You did say you experienced firsthand the struggles of poverty. How did that shape not just who you are as a woman, but as a teacher?
You know, I've seen it all, and I brought a book as well, because childhood hunger is a traumatic experience. And so I've chronicled, and I leave this with you, I've chronicled my life story in just growing up poor. The shame, right, of being poor, the shame of wanting to have this thing that's called food and not being able to get it. And so I know that deeply, and I wanted to just give back. I just wanted to be that conduit of love, of joy, and I wanted to make sure that kids had the opportunities to thrive, regardless of the family origin, regardless of socioeconomic status. And so all of that work, food, access to mental health services, it's all of that that I wanted to just say, we can help kids. It doesn't matter where they are, and we should find them and we should feed them.
Tell me about that, because you could have just said, listen, I'm going to work with the kids that are immediately connected to me here in the U.S. You could say, I'm going to help kids in my home country, which is Jamaica. Right. But you've extended it to Liberia, where the former First Lady is a Jamaican, by the way.
Yeah.
And to Haiti as well. Tell me about this global approach to advocacy that you have.
Because I think it's one world, right? And it's one people. And I also feel like, how do you choose who to feed? How do you choose who to support? And so Global Fund for Kids.org, it's an organization that I started with the help of so many others after I decided that I was not going to seek re-election from the Rhode Island House of Representatives in 2022. And so this is global, wherever kids are. But I believe deeply that charity begins at home.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here in Jamaica. And I went to Bull Bay School because that's where I went when I was like 6 years old. Of course, my dad started a church and a school in 1963. Wow. And those are still up and running.
Wow.
But I went to Bull Bay All-Age School. And I remember like just seeing other kids like eating, and I wanted to eat too, but I didn't have it. And then I decided to go to John Mills, because I taught at John Mills for 4 years before migrating to the U.S.
Wow.
And so this is home for me. So global, yes, because everything we do, Jamaicans, everything we do is big.
Yeah.
Right? We're global.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to come back home, because here, home is where the heart is. And Jamaica will always be home for me.
It's a preoccupation, and I've said a lot of Jamaicans who leave Jamaica
Yeah.
leave with Jamaica in their hearts.
Yes.
And they not only want better for themselves,
Exactly.
but they want better for the country.
Exactly.
And I feel like you're one of a number of Jamaicans who have become politically involved in America. You were, come on, lady, you were in the House of Representatives.
I was.
And you pushed for legislation to provide free meals to all public school students.
Yes.
What was that fight like for you?
So it was a tough fight, right? Because there is a school of thought by some people who believe that the government is not children's parents.
Yes.
And so the government should not be providing food for kids. I am not of that school of thought. I am of the school of thought that if a child shows up in the cafeteria, they must be fed, regardless, because it's Maslow before Bloom, right? And so it was a big fight, and they're like, no, why should we feed? And so it took a lot of fight, and the fight is still ongoing. But I can tell you, although I left the House of Representatives, for the first time in Rhode Island, the last 2 budget cycles, there was money that's line item for free breakfast and lunches, universal. So this fight, and I'll say to Jamaicans here, we can feed kids. We can feed all kids. And I've been to my high school at Yalas, and they tell me that the kids are hungry. And I go to Bull Bay Primary and Infant, and they say the kids are hungry. And I go to John Mills, and I see hungry kids. And that breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because it is not okay. It breaks my heart because food is a basic human right. It breaks my heart because if we really want to dismantle the school to prison pipeline, if we want to end gun violence in our urban core, we've got to feed kids because these are all connected. And so oftentimes we look at issues in silos. I don't. Because I understand. And so our organization, we place food directly in the mouths of children by donating funds to the school. And in my state where I live, we actually have the food pantries directly in schools. And I would love for that to happen in Jamaica, where the food pantry is not just for the kids in the school, but families can access that food. Because let me tell you something, as someone who grew up poor, I know the shame of being poor. But I also know that there are great people in schools all over Jamaica and all over the world. And if you're listening, go right now to globalfundforkids.org because we're feeding kids across the world, but I should say. But as I said, charity begins at home.
Yes.
And I do a lot around mental access and mental care. And I sponsored a bill in Rhode Island where every school in Rhode Island should be trauma informed, right? So everyone who interacts with kids should know what trauma is, adverse childhood experiences, and really should focus on mental health and mental access. But we should also focus on the teachers and the people who care for those children.
Well, I got to big up the Ministry of Education Guidance and Counseling Unit because they've had some sessions with teachers who work in some of those communities who have themselves faced trauma. But we're out of time, but it's so good talking to you. Thank you so much for all that you continue to do and for being an inspiration.
And I brought a book for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Guys, make sure you get a copy of it. Transforming Schools, a trauma-informed approach to teaching, learning, and healing our children. Teacher, philanthropist, and so much more, Marcia Ranglin-Vassell. After the break, we get the details about the Jamaican Network of Seropositives Creative Arts Competition. We'll soon come.